This is the Cypriot village of Mitsero. It lies 16 miles southwest of the country's capital, Nicosia. On the outskirts of the village is the so-called Red Lake of Mitsero. The deep red colour is caused by minerals in the lake's soil and runoff water from a dilapidated, rusted old mine which was used to excavate iron ore decades ago. This has caused the water to become toxic and swimming is prohibited. It also looks as if, at some stage, authorities have attempted to deter people from getting too close because torn down pieces of fence and razor wire can be found on its periphery. If the aura and appearance of this body of water wasn't ominous enough, events in recent years have solidified its reputation as a very foreboding place. In April of 2019, the Mitsero area was hit by a massive storm, which left many areas flooded and the water of the Red Lake at an unusually high level, even flooding the nearby mine shaft and washing out its contents. On April the 14th, some German tourists approached the mine shaft to take a look inside. They found that the torrents of rain had dislodged a plastic bag from the bottom of the shaft. When one of the party climbed down the ladder, they even joked that they may have found a dead body. What they pulled out from the mine was indeed the decomposing remains of a woman. The mine was then searched thoroughly 2 days later, revealing the body of a second woman. Both had been killed by strangulation. The two women found in the mine shaft were 38-year-old Mary Rose Tiburcio and 28-year-old Ariane Palanas Lozano, both from the Philippines. Mary Rose Tiburcio's ex-partner, who lived locally, was suspected and arrested, but later released without charge. There were two other suspects, however, men whom Mary had been speaking to online just before she went missing in May of 2018. One of those men was soon proven to be innocent, but the other, a 35-year-old Greek Cypriot former army officer named Nikos Metaxas, didn't even attempt to hide his guilt. He admitted to police officers that he had met up with and killed numerous women. He had used Facebook and the dating app Badoo under the name Orestes Apoel to lure his victims and two of their children. He claimed that two of the women had told him of their plans to offer their daughters to paying men. Nikos explained that, in order to free them of that fate, he not only had to kill their mothers, but the daughters too. He described his crimes to police officers in a confident and detached manner, and wrote about them in a 10-page confession. On the 25th of April 2019, Metaxas took police officers 4.5 miles north-northwest to a military firing range and a nearby pit in the village of Arunda. From that pit, police pulled the body of 30-year-old Asmita Kada Bista. She was from Nepal and she had communicated with Metaxas online under the name Kata Anu. 4 days later, on April the 28th, Nico's written confession led police officers back to the Red Lake. He had told them that they would find 3 more bodies there, 2 women and a child, all in suitcases and weighed down with rocks. He was true to his word. Those suitcases contained the bodies of 36-year-old Romanian woman Livia Florentina Bunea and her 8-year-old daughter Elena, although Elena wasn't found on that day. It was a week later, on May the 5th, 2019, that Elena was pulled from the lake. 9 days later, the body of 31-year-old Maricar Valdez Arqueola from the Philippines was also found at the Red Lake. Metaxas had met her on Facebook and believed her to be vulnerable due to the death of her husband. The adult women Metaxas had killed were all found to be migrant workers who had moved to Cyprus with the hope of finding a better life. The final victim to be found was the other child, Mary Rose Tiburcio's 6-year-old daughter, Sierra. She was discovered on the 12th of July of 2019, wrapped in a sheet and tied to a concrete block, 6 meters or 20 feet below the surface of Memi Lake, in the village of Exfiliatos, 4.5 miles west of the Red Lake. This brought the search for victims to an end. When these crimes were made public, numerous women came forward and accused Metaxas of assault and sexual abuse. Nikos Metaxas believed that the justice system in Cyprus would not treat these foreign women the same way that they would Cyprians, and that their disappearances wouldn't be investigated properly, if at all. And he was right. Cyprian law enforcement never looked into their disappearances, and it was discovered that they had even destroyed or misplaced critical evidence. Metaxas, representing himself, went to trial in Nicosia on Monday the 26th of July 2019. There were 12 charges in all, 7 counts of premeditated murder and 5 counts of abduction. He sobbed and apologised for his horrific crimes before being handed 7 life sentences. The trial made history in Cyprus because it was considered one of, if not the worst crime in the country's post-colonial history, and never before had a defendant faced such a long sentence. Clad in a bulletproof vest, Metaxas said, "I accept full responsibility for my actions and am ready to face the consequences. I cannot go back in time and undo what I have done. I apologise to the victims and their relatives for the unjust pain that I have caused them. I apologise to my children and my parents for the distress I have caused them, and I apologise to Cypriot society, which is wondering how one of its members reached this point. The question is torturing me too." When asked about the deaths of Mary Rose Tiburcio and her daughter, Metaxas said, "I picked them up on May the 4th and took them to my house. We put the little girl to sleep, and then I told Mary Rose that I had money and that I would marry her, as I had told Livia. I had the same feelings about Mary Rose as I had Livia. I thought her daughter too was being abused by perverts. I then took her and strangled her. I then strangled Sierra while thinking of the Greek genocide of 1922. When questioned about the claims he had made about 2 of the women trafficking their daughters, he said that he was sure that that was the case. The prosecution concluded that these claims were pure fabrication. Regarding the killing of Asmita Kardabista, Metaxas told police that during sexual intercourse she had spat on him. This, he said, made him angry and reminded him of Livia Bunia, leading him to murder her too. With the exception of Asmita, whose cause of death was severe head injury, all Metaxas's victims were killed by strangulation. The failure of the authorities to adequately investigate the murders, despite 6 of the 7 victims being declared missing, triggered outrage in the community. President Nikos Anastasiadis, acknowledging the bungled handling of the cases, accused police of, quote, derelict of duty. The island's chief of police, Zacharias Christostoumou, was fired, and the Justice Minister Ioannis Nikolaou resigned under the pressure of bad feeling from the public. Protest vigils were held by migrant workers and civil rights groups outside the presidential palace and in towns across the island. The victims' funerals were paid for by the Cyprian government, and their families received €10,000 from the president, who said, "I am aware that no money will ease the pain of the relatives of the deceased." The killings carried out by Nikos Metaxas were thought to have begun in September of 2016, when Livia Florentina Bunea and her daughter Elena went missing. Maricar Valdez Arqueola went missing in December of 2017, followed by Mary Rose Tiburcio and her daughter Sierra on May the 5th, 2018. Ariane Palanas Lozano went missing on July the 21st, 2018. Asmita Kardabista was never reported missing. In the aftermath, Cypriot businessman Stelios Hadjiouano, founder of the British airline EasyJet, announced that he would donate €10,000 to each of the closest relatives of each victim. He was unable to make contact with the relatives of 2 of the victims, so he donated additional sums of €10,000 to the education funds of Metaxas's 8-year-old son and 6-year-old daughter. In 2017, vlogger and YouTuber Sarah Funk travelled to Cyprus. While she was there, she visited the infamous lake. The video, which Sarah has since taken down, showed exactly how remote and imposing the area is. Her boyfriend, who had accompanied her, jokingly said that the scenario reminded him of the beginnings of a horror story, with Sarah commenting that the air smelt bad and the place felt like death. After making their way down to the water's edge to take a closer look, Sarah's boyfriend shot some footage of Sarah. She could be seen crouching very close to a partially submerged object. It was in fact a suitcase, which, quite surprisingly, did not attract the attention of the couple at the time. That suitcase, a year from then, would be opened to reveal one of Metaxas's victims. This video was uploaded to YouTube channel 2 Wheels 4 Rotors on the 13th of May 2018, eerily only 8 days after Mary Rose Tiburcio and young Sierra went missing. The drone footage shows a clear, vibrant view of the lake, but at the 47th second of the 2-minute video, the now more sun-bleached suitcase seen in Sarah Funk's 2017 video can clearly be seen on the water's edge.